So section 6 deals with hazard control, and these questions here, questions 6.1, 6.3, and 6.5, they simply ask you to check for certain things and count certain things. So those questions are pretty straightforward. So we're going to jump right into the question 6.2, and it asks, have the identified engineering controls been implemented? And this question is asking you to survey the engineering controls from your formal hazard assessment. So you must have your engineering controls listed in your formal hazard assessments. And many hazard assessments, formal hazard assessments, they don't specifically identify which controls are engineering or PPE or administrative. So you might have to look for them in your FHA, and use the number of engineering controls that you have listed in there as the total number. Now, this is a good time to review your formal hazard assessment to make sure that you have all your engineering controls in there, because of course, as part of the observation, you've got to list the engineering controls and then take a sample of those and go and observe them. So make sure they're written right into your FHA, and or have a corresponding safe work practice or safe job procedure for those engineering controls. Okay, so for questions 6.9 and 6.10, the question is a violence prevention and a harassment prevention plan in place as per legislation requirements? And notice it says as per legislated requirements. And also notice that there's no criteria listed in this question. So what it means now is that your policy has to contain what the Alberta OH&S code states as requirements for violence and harassment. And you can look to part 27, and it has in there like policies and procedures and training requirements and reporting and that kind of thing. So it's always a good idea, again, just to simply copy and paste from from part 27 of the code and into your violence and harassment policies, and then reference one of those examples in your answer to the question. Then for 6.11, have the violence and harassment plans been reviewed as per legislation requirements? And all the questions in section 6 are kind of straightforward except for this one. This one does have 4 criteria. You can see they're listed there, like when an incident occurs, or if the HSC or HS representative recommends a review, or when there's a change to the work or the work site that could affect the potential for violence and harassment, and at least every 3 years. So an example statement in your policy could be your company name has a policy to review the violence and harassment policies in the following situations, and then list the exact criteria word for word right there. And just note that it's not the policy that needs to contain any of these criteria, but if you have them in your policy, it's so much easier to answer the audit question.